flowers and roses, such would astound you. The joy of children laughing around you. These are the makings of you. It is true, the makings of you. The righteous way to go, little one would know.
All right, peace and blessings. Welcome to another episode of Do Not Radio. Please pronounce Warren, your host, now. Let's want to allow. We have a special guest by special request. You might have seen her on here a few times in a couple of different capacities, but it is nothing like the real thing. So it becomes my honor and privilege at this time to introduce some, present to others. The masteress Novella is the writer, the author, the composer, the angelic voice, one who has graced our presence and gave us, you know, so much love in her work over the years. The one and only Camille St. Charles, Mississippi. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back, ma'am. How you feeling?
I am doing well, and thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to come and speak with you and your fans. And I'm over the moon excited for this conversation.
Well, the series is dedicated to living Black history, like those who are making strides now. You know, we go back to those of our ancestors and things of that nature, but I wanted to hone in on those who are making strides and greatness, who are making history right now. You're definitely one of those ones who are making history in a myriad of ways. So this is, you know, a celebration day for you and a celebration of your work. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
so Ms. Zane had the opportunity to come here and she told her story about being a preacher's daughter and having to write under a pseudonym because she didn't want her parents to find out that she was writing these books. So,
Yeah.
so in your pathway in regards to developing your particular writing style, what's it like for you coming to grips with your own identity and say, I'm walking in this, this is me, world, hear me roar?
Well, it wasn't me per se, it was God.
Mm,
And we had a God and I was struggling. God wasn't struggling. I was struggling because I was
mm,
being disobedient. And I was the rebellious aspect of me, just kept saying, reminding God of the things that I know and the things that I can do and I do well. And this is just totally, I was a new spirit stepping into the literary arena. And I kept reminding the Lord that I didn't have the schooling and I didn't possess, the storytelling skill.
mm.
And God was like, please, as much as you talk, you've got tons of skills.
Right.
And I was like, God, I didn't go to school for this. I went to school for beauty, makeup, hair, all the other
Mm,
stuff in the
mm,
beauty arena. I was a newbie. I was an absolute beginner in the literary arena. And in some of my beginning works, it shows. But I guess, like a friend of mine said to me one day, she said, even Coca-Cola and Hallmark had to start somewhere.
that's right.
You just do not show up and you are great. You have to go through, you have to go through the trials and the tribulations, and you have to make yourself worthy, even though the Lord has already qualified me. There's still a
Mm,
lot that I do not know, but I so love being an author. I get to do this. Not too many people can say that. It's a
right.
luxury for me. I get to do this. So, yeah.
So there's another part that you spoke about and you've written about in regards to, I wouldn't necessarily call it a conflict, but how did you reconcile, you know, your faith in God and then your content, right? Like those two worlds, bro. In between those two worlds.
It was a battle. It was a epic battle going on between my father, him being a minister,
Mm,
and me writing. And I like certain things. I'm a detail oriented person. I like the more the detail, the better. And when I finally made peace with who I was, because it was a struggle, and before I could even present it to my father, I had to master it. I had to know that I know that I know. I'm not concerned about what you think, because I am a person. I'm not the person that you put on the speakerphone. I am not for everybody, and I know the lane that I occupy. So after I had pumped myself up in my head, I called my
mm.
dad, and I made him aware that I write erotica and I write very racy, naughty, and adventurous stories. And he was like,
Right.
"Oh, okay." He said, "Well, sing me some." Like, I was like, "Dad, I don't want you to become embarrassed behind some of the things." He said, "Baby, sex has nothing to do with you. That's a God
Ooh,
creation.
okay.
So uh, it has nothing to do with you. You're just telling a story." So that's just what I did. I sent him 3 or 4 of my books.
Mhm.
And after he gave me his stamp of approval, I was just running. I was like, "Oh, I have no shame to offer you. I'm just telling you it's in there. But if you need to be embarrassed or ashamed about anything, you have to find that elsewhere, because I don't have that. That's not on the banquet of life for me." So uh, it was a pleasure once I made him aware. It was like a weight was lifted off of my chest, and I was breathing a lot easier, because I felt as if I was hiding something from
Mhm.
him, you know.
Mhm.
And I didn't want someone to try to slay his spirit and catch him off guard, and give him a gut punch by
Right.
something I said. They people love to sucker punch you, catch you off guard, and you're just
Right.
standing there trying to get yourself together. And I did not wish to offer that to my father. And he was an adult, and I was an adult. I think I started writing when I was like 40 something. And I was like, "Hey, it is what it is." I write sometimes when I'm having very naughty conversations with my friends. I write like that. And sometimes you're unclear who's really speaking, but it is I. So,
I think that's amazing, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, she said she started writing in her 40s. She don't even look like she's in her 40s, okay? Just for the record, first of all. And then, second of all, in another season of your life. You understand what I'm saying? You have life and lived experiences and all of those things. So, how much of that translated in the writing portion that you begin to share from the world? How much is imagination and how much is you?
well, like I tell everyone, and I'm going to stick to this, I will neither confirm nor deny the validity and the authenticity of the stories. If you believe it to be real, have at it. But I am a fiction writer. So my imagination is all inside of the stories and the misunderstandings and the laughter. My imagination is giving tours as you read any of my stories.
I heard that before. Okay, that's your story and you sticking to it.
I'm
I
sticking
appreciate
to it.
it.
Why lie and why change now? You can't
Right.
change horses in the middle of a race. So,
Right.
I'm like, I'm good. I'm good. So,
So detail oriented, very, very detail oriented.
mm,
How do you set the stage for where your story takes place and then character development? I heard some writers say that characters come and visit them and they bother them until they're written about. Can you share some experience in regards to where your stories take place and then, you know, character development being such a detail oriented person?
well, I do write romance stories also, but my erotic stories, they take places in any imagining. It could be in the hallway, on the way to the roof in New York. It could be on the subway. It could be in a business meeting. I just travel all over. And I start my stories by what I notice when I walk into a room. If something captures my attention, yeah, here I am in a room with all of these mirrors, but I still can't see myself. So, I started like that and I just start talking. It is a lot of trial and error because some things work well and they fit. And then sometimes I might not get that feeling I wanted to get behind something. So I have to go back and redo it and start again. But my imagination is very vast and it has gotten me into trouble several times because sometimes I imagine some of the situations inside of some of my stories stepping off the screen because when I am imagining, I envision my stories on a big movie screen. So it's like, she did this, he did that. There was a misunderstanding, or he was afraid to say something, or he was being a coward, and she was being a bully, or she was being an asshole. So, all of those conversations are explored inside of the stories, good, bad, and or indifferent.
Now, how does the world of romance differentiate from the world of erotica for you?
Well, funny you should say that. My latest book, which is a romantic, because I struggled when I started writing romance because I had mastered erotica, but I was trying to get a different audience. And I used to be a coffee vendor. And one day I looked at the coffees, it's 7 of them, and I took the one that nobody really talked about, the basic generic, the general overall house blend coffee. I turned that coffee into a person. And I said, because I had to go to a big flea market that day, and I said, they told me that the flea market that we were at used to be a dance studio. So now it's a dance studio and bakery. But we're out there in the big parking lot. And I said, I wonder what type of dancing is going on in there. And so my character, House Blend, stepped forward. And she said, oh, I'd love to learn how to dance. But nobody ever pays attention to me because I'm not shining and new. She's the original. And she always noticed how people are fascinated with something shiny and new. And she was the eldest of all of her siblings. So she basically dismissed herself out of those arenas because she gave thought to one of her sisters stepping up and saying, I like this and I like that. And on that particular day, when I was dreaming up that story, I had several interesting conversations with guys who came up to the table and we were just talking. I wasn't paying attention, but I was. And one of the guys started talking to me and I said, you know what? I'm going to have somebody like him start talking to my lady House Blend. I'm going to have them talk. And, they're going to start liking each other. And she's going to want to only dance with him because her dance card has not been punched. She was the eldest, but she was the one that was never in the relationships because her sisters got all the guys because she felt as if she was a wallflower. So she never gave her looks any thought. And when people really started paying attention to her, she was like, oh, you must mean those compliments for my sister. You don't mean them for me because I'm not that chick. So romance is it's like erotic, but when it gets to the part where the things are getting ready to start heating up, I can't just take the reader by the hand and tell them everything that's done. You're going to have to use your imaginations. So therefore, I imagined that coffee was a person, so I turned them all into fairy tales. I won't tell you about the sex, but you know the sex is there. Like one of the coffees will be like, I'm steaming under the collar. I got the vapors. There's a lot of moisture on this glass. You know, certain little innuendos. Now you know they're talking about sex, but they're not. You know, they are, but they are not. So that's how it got started. And so my first book, my best-selling book, my first bestseller, is called Coffee Fairy Tales, where I turned each coffee into a romantic individual. And each coffee is on a quest and on a vision and a journey for some romance. Because as quiet as it's kept, why better? Why not? You can fall in love inside of a fairy tale. That's a really great place to, capture someone's attention, long and hunger for it. And this is me as one of the coffees. This is me. They're all period piece. Only two of them are centered in the old days. But the rest of the stories, they revolve around something that could possibly be taking place right now. It's an everyday type of romance, but it's no graphic or vulgar language. And I even had to pull myself back because I do have violent tendencies. So I could not even get as, detailed and, worked up as I wanted to. Because, sometimes violence entertains me. So why lie?
Right. So what were some of your initial reactions or responses from your readers? So you got long-term readers that are here. They have this expectation, and then Shazam, you come out with this. What was that like?
Well, a couple of them expressed their displeasure of no sex and no violence and no vulgar language because, vulgarity is the glue that holds humanity together because you can't have one without the other. It can't be all rainbows and butterflies. There's got to be some violence somewhere to inspire and motivate. And if I only spoke about love and romance, you'd become bored. So therefore, I'm making you aware in my sexual stories, it's going to be some low down dirty sex. But in my coffee fairy tales, it's a hint of intimacy. There's never a really big description. It's just a hint. And you fill in a lot of the things. But these people in the books are adults. So the characters in the books are doing what adults do. Even though they don't tell you all the things that they're doing, it's there. It's there. So, yeah. I had a blast writing this book and I fell in love inside of this book. I laughed because I'm a collector and sometimes I collect stories and sometimes I forget about some of the things that I have encountered. And when I was revisiting some of the things, I started laughing hysterically. And I even told myself, you're mine. I'm going to have to pray for you because some days, some days I can be, you never know whom you're speaking to or which aspect of me that you're talking to. So, but it's still me nevertheless.
That's beautiful right there. So what was it like for you in this regard? This has been a diehard genre for you, and this is the book that becomes a bestseller. What was that like for you?
Oh, it was nice because I did reach a lot of different people because when I tell people I write erotica, um, see, I'm doing it as a precautionary measure. I have no desire to catch the reader off guard And then you're reading a story and then it just continues and continues, and the sex shows up in the violence, and they're like, oh, I didn't see that happening. So I took a softer approach because, like I said, I struggled with not cursing and no violence and no graphic sex. I struggled with that because that's part of life. You're missing, if there's no sex or violence or love or lust. mm, some of those things are what life is made of. But the delicate and the more modest aspect of me stepped forward and started speaking in love stories. Like, if I was in a love story, this is what I would like to happen for me. So I would be borrowing from my imagination or something that someone had told me that made me smile. Because, it's not all love and romance is cool, but sometimes it's the little bitty things that are done in a relationship that seals the deal. It's not the big showing of the ring and all this other stuff. Now, that's all well and good. Don't dismiss or discount. But sometimes, like a partner, a friend, or lover comes over and joins you for dinner, and then they help to clean up, or they start cleaning up the kitchen. That's a love language right there, because they are understanding and appreciating how long it took to get everything together, and they're willing to step in to help. Some people see that as sexy, some people do not. It just depends on where you are in your walk in this world. I find it very appealing because, it makes me know that you've considered all the work that has gone into getting the meal together and you enjoyed yourself. So now, to show appreciation, unless we have a maid that I'm unaware of, uh, uh, help me. And if we help each other, we can get done faster, and then we can move on to what adults do. Even if it's just watching television and sitting there, talking about how the day was, just life. So,
I think that was a profound scene in the movie Boomerang, right? With Eddie Murphy and Halle Berry, right? They were
yeah,
cleaning up after everybody left.
yeah,
Left the situation. Like he looked at that mess and he was about to, get to it, and she stayed and helped. You understand what
yeah,
I'm saying? So it's like,
yeah, yeah.
immediately I went to that visual, right? So yeah, that's a visual right there.
That's a
Uh,
visual. It's never, sometimes it is the big things, but it's the little bitty, the things that show consideration. That's a love language. I Gift giving and helping and all of this. That's just all well and good. I love all of that stuff. But the fact of staying in there and helping put up things, clean things up, and then both of you all can be in the process of sharing what's going on in your life, something that struck you odd. Somebody said something and I want to talk about it. What do you think? That just opens the door because you're in the process of communicating with one another. Not she cleans up the kitchen and you go in and watch TV. Then that's when the fight got started. It's never the big things. It's the little bitty whispers and the subtle little things that lovers do for each other, or even friends. If you have a friend coming over, if you don't help me clean up my kitchen, we're going to have a problem. Even if you just sit in there and, talk back and forth, that's beautiful. But, I'm a romantic, and I like erotica too. So, it's a dance. It's a dance. You never know. You never know what you're going to get.
if you had the budget to put out 3 of your books to either turn them into a television series
Mhm.
or movies, what would they be? Which ones?
I have become a fan of the series. I love movies. I grew up in a movie theater. My mom
Hmm.
used to work there, so I hung out at the movie theater every week. Every week, I've seen everything. There was a lot of kung fu movies too. I've seen all of that. They used to have double features back
Yeah.
in my day. They used to have double features, or sometimes they do 5 movies, double features. You get to they pair them up. And my mom worked an 8-hour shift, so she took me and my brother and sister, and we hung out at the movie theater all day. So I love that. But I'm gonna air with the series because I love Bridgerton. I see my coffee fairy tales like in the Bridgerton ele- elegance. I see it like that. And my Roxanne, whoo, I don't know if it would be too steamy for weekly encounters for Roxanne. Because some of the sex that her and some of her companions have could make the wallpaper melt off the walls. So maybe Roxanne would be the movie and the Coffee Fairy Tales could be the series. I like both of those ideas. I've entertained them constantly.
Sounds amazing. Okay. The steamier, the better. You know that because I'll ask about this. The the taboo associated with sex nowadays, right? Especially in our community, right? Have you seen it change over your time? And do we really look at it in the way that it should be, in that regard?
Well, sex was made for a man, a woman, a woman, a woman, a man, and a man. It doesn't really make a difference to me. I don't care. But nowadays, it was more so subtle innuendos. Now it's just like thrust into your face and just jammed down your throat. And you're sitting there like, where is the I like the romance. The older I have gotten, the more that I enjoy the romance. Because, like I said, it's never the big, grandiose things, it's the little bitty things. And that's a dance all in itself. And the moral compass of some of the people who are on some of the platforms and some of the things that they talk about, they don't tell you what it took to get there. They just give you boom right in the middle. And that's cool because some people they just want to be entertained. But as for me, I love a good story. I am a detail oriented person. I want to know what he said that made you mad, or what he did, or what he didn't do, or what she said, or where she's coming from. So, because all of that happens like that, because it doesn't happen. Life sometimes doesn't happen like boom, 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 like it does in the movies. It could be years in between, of you seeing someone and someone seeing you, and you finally having that conversation that you had been avoiding, or the conversation that you wanted to have, but the coward that lives in you just said, yeah, I'm not ready. So I like all of the trappings that go along with setting up a really good scene. I love all of that.
Yes. I mean, I watched the making of the thing that always intrigued me. I used to buy the DVDs back then, and
Mhm.
anything I could find of the making of the behind the scenes, anything that the director was talking about, any of the actors on the set, what it took to build the set, all of those things, gave me access to the world. Like the movie was the movie, but what it took to make the movie, all of these other things that were happening was always something that intrigued me. So going behind the scenes and looking and decoding and then doing my own research on the director and what else they directed and how they got started. All of those things kind of put, things in perspective, for me. So uh, even down to some of the kung fu flicks and stuff like that you were mentioning, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So the philosophies associated, and then the history of the Manchu, the history of China, and China interfacing with Japan and the British India Company, and all of
Uh-huh.
those things, you
Mhm.
know, in the time period piece, and then how they were able to showcase heroicism, right? And licentious behavior too at the same time. Like there was some heroicism, like they made you love the hero and hate the villain, but respect the villain. And also, they had their space of it's like, all right, if we're gonna present this person as a scumbag, they're really gonna be a scumbag. Then they're gonna present this person as a sage. Oftentimes you don't even have to hear them. They did the overlay with the sound where you would hear the wisdom being conveyed, while the person was dealing in these deadly martial disciplines. So
Mhm.
the teetering back and forth right in between
Mhm.
those worlds. So you see these fluid movements and the strict discipline, but any one of these strikes can harm you or take you up out of here. So it's like you looking at this art, but the martial sciences are deadly. They're not there for show purpose, So it's very interesting in that world to see, how you're able to weave these stories together and how you just said about setting up the scene for a good story to be told. And I
Mhm.
think that's amazing, right? So
Sometimes
it's
truth is stranger than fiction. You know,
mm,
you
mhm,
don't have to look too far because sometimes if you just look in your own backyard, if you go back and revisit some of the situations that have happened that you
mhm,
made it through, that's a story right there.
right, right. So you in love, right? Condolences again to you and your family for your loss.
Thank you. My husband
And
died it's been 2 years now. Yeah.
wow,
And I'm just now, I can say this honestly, I'm just now coming back to myself because um, I was slipping. I felt as if, because he died at my feet. And when he died, I felt lost. My kids were lost, but I didn't have the luxury um, to fall apart. I had to stay in control until I couldn't handle it anymore. And I told my kids I likened myself to a fat little cheerleader that's standing on the sidelines of all my family and friends' life and wishing the best for them. But when sorrow had showed up for me, although my friends were still there cheering me, my friends and my family, I just couldn't hear it. And so I had to actively seek out professional help because I told somebody, I said, I heard when I felt myself slipping, I heard that song Slipping in the Darkness by War. That song was playing in my head as I was struggling. And I had to call my doctor at the Henry Ford Hospital and make her aware that I need to talk to somebody. I said, because when you're not right, so much has hit you, you didn't have an opportunity to deliver any punches. All you could do is just take gut punch after gut punch, and you're sitting there like, you even looking at the Lord like, God, does anybody see me? Everybody's so caught up in their sorrow, they're dismissing and overlooking me until I started slipping. And so my general practitioner, uh, she told me, I need you to talk to somebody because she said, she's a beautiful white woman. But she said, I don't know how to say this. And I said, please say it. She said, sometimes women of color don't know how to ask for help. She said, sometimes there's some form of fashion of shame associated with it. I said, yeah. And I didn't know how to tell my kids I was slipping mentally, because it was too much, and it never let up. It was just continual. And when I finally did go to the hospital and start talking to a shrink, I had forgotten some of the things that I had been carrying around with me. I was a modern day bag lady, and I had to open up some of the luggage that I was traveling with and decide if I was going to keep it or throw it away. And 90% of it was not serving me anymore. And there is life for the person that's still living after the death of a spouse, but it takes a long time. I'm not the same person. I'm not the same person I used to be. And with therapy and admitting my frailties and the things that were troubling me, that saved my life. It helped me, because I thought I was some form of fashion of superhero until I wasn't. I thought I could save and help everybody else until I lost myself. So now I'm back with a vengeance, because I know I can be an asshole. But the fact of me being back, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm coming for you. I'm coming for all of them now. I'm coming for them. And although I am still a sweet, loving, and intriguing person, there is so much of me that has changed. So, and I had to make peace with that, pick up some things and continue on, and leave some things, drop them off at the door, or pack them away and give them to Goodwill, because they're not serving me anymore.
So how has your writing changed, if at all, with this transformation, with this resurgence, with this, resurrection sort of spirit?
Well, hey, that's a great segue for my song.
Yes,
I wrote a poem 5 years ago. And when my husband died, I was telling a friend of mine I wrote a poem. And she said, oh, I didn't know you did poetry. I said, yeah, I was having a moment. So I let her see it. And she said, well, can I do something with it? And I said, well, do something like what? She said, I want to turn it into a song. I said, girl, I'm not a songwriter. Don't. I just wanted you to see my poem. She said, no. There is a song in there. And she said, some of the key things that you were saying are resonating with me. And I want to go back and let's go revisit it. And when she represented my poem to me as a song, I sat there and cried. I was like, I didn't know I was carrying, but like I said, I wrote the song 5 years ago. I didn't know I was still carrying all of that. And she turned it into a song. And because when the guy started singing, he said, 10 years I've been writing scripts in my mind. I used to do that all the time because, I was trying to make sure that you understood me. I don't like being challenging and difficult. I just want to make sure when we're talking and we're on a certain subject, you are understanding me. So that's how that happened. And my writing style has been a little bit more so precise. I'm writing 10 different stories right now. I have 10 different books already in the making. And I even wrote a story about my son's dog, because when my husband died, we had just moved into a new home and I had only been in there 3 weeks when he died. So I didn't even have the opportunity to unpack, I was just thrust into a whirlwind. And when I came back from burying him back in Mississippi, there was something restless in me. So my son had brought his dog out here, a Siberian Husky. And the dog and I would walk every day. And I would get out and I'd start watching nature. I got to meet several of my new neighbors, had several misunderstandings with other people who own dogs because not every dog is the same. And then I found out that there's a barking order. I was like, why isn't my dog barking? He only barks if his breed doesn't bark that much, but only if someone comes to the door will he bark. Other than that, he's pretty chill. So after I started walking with my dog, I started writing down my encounters. And I was going to make it a beautiful children's book, all the sweet and nice and all this other stuff. I couldn't do it because when I was outside having a misunderstanding with one of my neighbors, the childlike wonder that lives in me didn't show up. The asshole that lives in me stepped to the front. So I would sit there and write these little stories. And now I found myself, I've got almost 75 to 100 pages of encounters of me and the dog. They go by months. So it's only 12 chapters in the book, but each month it's a different exchange or encounter, or I might notice something, or somebody's dog comes running at me, or one of the ladies in the neighborhood, she said, I just love seeing you and your dog. And she went and bought my dog snacks. And I was like, I said, that's beautiful. Did you get me anything? She said, no, I didn't get you anything. I got the dog something. So, I was like, okay. So it has been like my saving grace. It's like I've discovered another aspect of me. Not the romantic and not the erotic, but the comical. Because all of the stories are exceptionally funny. And my grand dog, because I don't have any grandkids. My grand dog has a challenging personality sometimes, because sometimes he's so silly. And I love that because it didn't allow me to slip into a depression. I had to always get up and go walk the dog. So that was my therapy. After I finished my time with my therapist, my therapy showed up with me walking the dog every day and talking to him. And I didn't listen to music and I didn't talk on my phone as I was out, because I was like, if I pay attention to something else, I'm going to miss something else. And so I don't like people walking up on me. I like to know what's going on in my neighborhood and who's around me. So I eliminated all of that. Now I would keep my phone with me, but I never talked on it. Whomever called got a phone call once I returned home. But I had so much fun with my dog. My grand dog no longer lives with me. They have their own place. But I had so much fun, and it was therapeutic, and I needed it. So he saved my life. My grand dog saved my life. So
that is beautiful. I'm telling you.
well, thank you. In that way, the fact of them saving my life, as I was thinking of, I was just giving thought again to the song, because it saved my life too. Because sometimes, you forget about some of the situations that you've gone through. Sometimes it's on some type of loop in your head, and then sometimes you be like, oh, I totally forgot about that. And so when she brought it back to my remembering with the song, and I sat there and I cried, I was like, wow, I didn't even know I said, God, you must have saw something in me years ago because, like I said, I struggled because that was not in my mind of me becoming an author. That was a God thing. It wasn't me. So
Yeah, we were talking about that right before we went live, right? I tell you, I'm going back, listening through the archives, finally writing about the series associated with this show. And I'm listening at me very adamantly at that, talking about, oh, okay, writing this book, these books about the series and recalling things that I couldn't recall in the moment, right? Recalling things in the moment, past guests, different experiences, and all of those things. And then, you know, talking about documenting them, with the camera, documentary style, sitting down with people with interviews in person about, this particular program, the series. And that was 9 years ago, right? And you mentioned like, okay, you were foreshadowing. So much so, it's like, oh, it's almost direct in line with what I'm doing, like almost verbatim. And I had that happen a couple of times. One of the things that I love the most is hearing people's stories and facilitating spaces for them to be able to share their stories, right? Because it's almost like total recall. You go back through your mind and you start speaking, you be like, man, I forgot. So for it to happen to me in that regard, to go back to it wasn't even 2 years yet, right? Just as we approach the 11th year, it's like 20 months, 19 months, right? I think it's 19 months. And I'm in this interview, talking with one of my brothers, one of my elders, and I'm very vividly describing in detail what I'm doing right now, right? So it's just interesting. Just really interesting to
you're
see it. So,
forecasting. Yeah.
right. Yeah.
You
So,
said 10 years ago. Yeah.
God in uh, their season, gives us the appointed time, right? So it's out there, it's inspired, but it takes time in the physical world for it to come to fruition. I had to go through some things and grow through some things and get some experience and then be in an environment where it challenged my thought process enough for me to sit still to be able to begin to write. So, going back to school in that academic environment, one of my major takeaways from that experience was you're in an environment where people challenge your thoughts. You could have a great idea, but the people coming to challenge your thought, not to ridicule you or berate you, but to add another layer for you to think about. So it's like, all right, metacognitively thinking about what you're thinking about. It's like, all right, so I'm taking this and that in, and you do the same thing for their ideas. So in that environment becomes an idea of your peer group that challenges you to present your best product or your best work. You know, and that was another frame of reference because the public school system that I came up in didn't do that. You were ostracized and ridiculed for bringing your black intelligence into that environment. So it's a completely different uh, schema that had to be updated in regards to that. So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I understand.
So that was me yapping for a second. I want to hear this beautiful song. I want the world to hear this beautiful song. I think we could play the song and then, we have the words here so we can go over the words if that's okay.
Of course. So you're gonna play it now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
If y'all don't know, she's from Detroit, so I gotta be careful. You understand what I'm saying? Them Detroit folks don't be playing.
Stop. I'll be right back.
All right.
Ten years
I've been writing scripts in my mind, rehearsing words just to have you be kind, practicing speeches, begging you to stay, convincing myself it was gonna be okay. I sit at the table, waiting for a sign that you'd see me there, that you give me your time, but you look right through me like I wasn't there, left me wondering if you even care.
What happened?
I thought, I don't know, maybe it started glitching on my end. Let me see. Hold on. 10 years I've been writing scripts in my mind, rehearsing words just to have you be kind, practicing speeches, begging you to stay, convincing myself it was gonna be okay. I sit at the table, waiting for a sign that you'd see me there, that you give me your time, but you look right through me like I wasn't there, left me wondering if you even care. You made me feel crazy for needing your love, made me feel foolish for asking above, for something so simple, something so small, just your attention, that's really all. But I will not beg, no, I will not beg. You're gonna spend my life on my knees, praying you see what's in front of you, please. I will not beg, I will not beg. I want somebody who wants to be here, not somebody I gotta skip just to care. Was it my body, these curves that you see? Was it the whispers telling you about me? Or did you just decide I wasn't enough? Spend an afternoon to show me your love. You wouldn't talk about it, wouldn't explain, just let me drown in that silent pain. And when I stopped asking, you felt the shift. But baby, by then I'd already drifted. 10 years of my life I gave to you, auditioning daily for what I thought true. But I'm performing, done playing small, done waiting for you
what's in front of you, please. I will not beg. Lord knows I will not beg. You're somebody who wants to be here, not somebody I got a script just to carry. God, I pray, send me someone who wants me, not someone I gotta chase, not someone I gotta convince that loving me ain't too much work. I will not beg. Oh no, I will not beg. My voice ain't a question no more. It's an answer, baby, walking through that door. I will not beg. Never again will I beg. I'm worthy of more than your baby. Worthy of someone who sees me, baby. I will not beg. Ooh. Not anymore. I'm worthy of more.
Yay! Thank you. Thank you. A labor of love. It was just an extension from my heart when I wrote that poem. So, yes.
Very heroic, right? Very heroic, and the twin of the hero is the villain. So very villainous also.
Yes.
Because when you set boundaries, when you draw your line of demarcation, the people who are used to doing this other thing, they're looking at you like the villain, not the hero, right? So the manipulators, the detractors, and all of those people, the ignorers, the neglectors, they look at you like, what do you mean? What do
What
you
do you
mean?
mean? No.
Right, the siphoners, all of those aspects, right? So
Mhm.
externally, but internally, it becomes villainous to those somatic cells that created those cells that exist outside. So those people, right? They're things that we build up inside of ourselves. They're not real, but we treat them as if they are real, right?
Mhm.
So one of the acronyms that I've agreed with over the years for fear is false expectations appearing real. So they somaticize within inside of us, right?
Mhm.
And they become things that are parasitical leeches to our cells, right? So
Mhm.
these aspects within ourselves from a cellular level, like you said, the coward that lives in us, right? Oh,
Mhm.
it's okay, it's all right, it's whatever, blah, 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 until that lion roars, right? That lion, that Leo energy roars and it begins to burn up these somatic cells inside, and you stand heroically in that space of yourself where you say no more, right? And then you have to navigate through the treacherous waters of shame. Like, why did I allow this to happen for so long? Blah blah blah. So more of an internal reconciliation than an external, but they're twins of one another. So this declaration that you have of self worth, reassigning self worth to yourself, and ascending from these places that people thought that they could hold you down or take advantage or eat off of you in that manner. Thank you for vocalizing, right? Writing and then allowing someone to transform it into a way that becomes most palatable to muse the minds of those who may not think that they have the courage or the will to stand up, right? To stand up and to proclaim and to banish those things or those aspects within themselves that no longer agree with them and the people or the things in their life that no longer agree with them. So thank you for giving articulation and eloquence and fearlessness to those who needed that push, who needed that reminder, who needed that license, so to speak, to be able to be victorious where they were once victimized.
To choose you, yes.
Right.
And
Right.
my friend, I want to give homage to my friend Kamisha Michaels. She was the one who took the poem and saw the song. I never saw the song. I
Mm.
was coming from a different place when I wrote it, and then when she represented it back, I was
Mhm.
like, I wrote that. She said, yeah. I was like,
Yes.
I never gave it any thought. And I wanted a guy. I did have a female version of it too, but I wanted a guy because I felt as if sometimes people have a tendency of listening to men more so than they do women. They can easily dismiss and discount a woman like, well, I don't know if you've ever been dismissed or discounted, but that's part of the makeup of being a woman. People have a tendency sometimes to ignore you, dismiss you, and discount you. And when you finally find your own footing, because you can't keep in step with somebody else, you can only walk to the beat of your own drum. So that's what I have been doing, and that has been the journey that I have been on. I've been allowing my having a Neil Diamond flashback, letting my heart light shine. I'm just out here shining. I'm still here. It's just, if I didn't stop and protect myself later on down the road, when things would really get messy, I'm not to say that if I'd have the will to fight, because, it's effortless. It's effortless to give up. It's effortless. Be like, but to stay and wish to continue on and get in line for the next battle, because it's going to start all over again the next day. And you'd be like, whoo. A friend of mine, Kamisha, we constantly keep saying that when we get sleepy, we feel as if Mike Tyson comes up and knocks us out. Just a knockout punch. That sleep is just right there. And she had first used that analogy, and then when I called her one day, she said, "Well, girl, Mike is here, so I'm going to have to let you go." I said, "Tell Mike I have next." And so, that's been an ongoing joke between us about Mike Tyson and the different things that we do, because sometimes if you allow it, life will just beat you to a pulp, and it'll beat you down to nothing, and you'll be like, "No, that's not me." So I had to rebuild myself back after I had to let go of a lot of things. So now it's like, okay, God, let's continue on. Let's continue on. So I've been just keeping myself busy. I'm learning about a lot of different things that I don't have a clue about, because sometimes I make myself mad of all the things that I don't know. And then some days I'm a smart chick. So it's the luck of the draw. I have my moments.
Well, I'm glad you had one of those moments, because there's so many people
Thank
when they get a hold of this song or get a hold of this poem, or one of your books or all of your books. I pray that everybody gets every book you've ever written, and they hear this song and they begin to move in some
what
sort of way towards their benefit,
what part of the
towards their
song did you like that spoke to you?
the auditioning aspect. Like there was so many things. Like there was so many things, right? So, right, personally, right, the reclamation, the reclamation, and thinking and going on that loop and going back through those pain points of the loop. Like I was auditioning, for something that you supposed to already have. Like you together, you in this union, you in this space, whatever it is. This is supposed to be a love space, and you that scene from the Five Heartbeats. Every night I gotta fight to prove my love, right? So he did that. That it was a dramatization, but where he was after a while, he figured out who he was with, right? So every night, this was probably something that they did back and forth to, to go make up. You understand what I'm saying? So people might be arguing, so they could make up. You understand what I'm saying? That's okay on the surface, but it's not. After a while, you begin to question it. Is this all there is, right? So this audition, you used to look forward to this audition, but then after this is like, why am I continually auditioning, right? Something happens in that place. So it's like, okay, so how do we break this cycle? How do I go through this process of reclamation? How do I go through the process of reconciliation after I come to the realization? You see what I'm saying? Or do I sink deeper into the depths of depression in that way? Like, I guess this is all there is. There'll never be anything else, a type of situation. But when you stand strong on it, there's a place in that where we could become ritualized to abuse and we don't know it, right?
Yeah.
It becomes a ritualized cycle of abuse and a cycle of addiction. So we become addicted to the abuse. So we can't wait now, or we're compelled some kind of way to do this audition type of situation. So putting these worlds together and seeing like, man, I don't have to deal with this, right? You see what I'm saying? And then a declarative statement: I will not beg. Right. So I need to see that on some merch and something. And when you out motivational speaking, I will not beg tour, because there's so many people that are bogged down and trapped and confined by decisions that they made. They might have made them under duress. They might have made them in the moment and not have thought those things through to the fullest extent possible, because you're like, oh, I just need to get this job. Or maybe if I just get this person, or this, that, whatever it is, it becomes something temporary with long-standing ramifications, right?
Yes.
So now it was a day, right? It was one day of audition. One day you blink again and it's 10 years have passed and you're still in the same spot. You're still hoping that today is going to be the day that you get the job that you signed up for to do, that 10 years have passed you by. Wow. Yeah. So going back to that and like, so I'm like, I'm listening like, whew, yeah, I will not beg, right? Nah, no more, no, forget that. And then I'm at peace with it, because it had to be something in that moment, in that time frame, where that was necessary, where you had to go onto this particular thing to sharpen your discernment, or your ability to be able to see something in that way. So there's a lesson that you learn. So all praise is due to the Most High for that lesson. Now, how do you turn that lesson into a blessing? You don't repeat it.
Yeah.
You don't repeat it, right? So.
And when aspects of it show up, because it will show up, and if you don't acknowledge it, it's gonna ease back on there again and be like, oh no, I'm sorry, no, no, I'm good, I'm good. And now moving forward, because a couple of my friends were inquiring, was I going to start dating soon? I said, you know what? I don't know. I don't know yet. So it's going to take me a moment. And I'm rediscovering and finding myself, because I had forgotten aspects of things that I liked, and that I like to do, and that I don't like to do. And I am great company, even if it's just for myself. I'm great company. Sometimes I find myself having dialogues out loud, like I'm thinking, I'm playing with how I want the conversation to go inside the story. So I will just start speaking it. And I said, and he needs to say this, or she needs to say that, and we're at the crossroads, because I'm trying to make it make sense, because I like believable stories. Fairy tales are beautiful. I love all of the world of fairy tales. but some of us never get to visit them that often. Sometimes it was the hardest thing I had to do was imagine happily ever after. I imagined the endings of some of the stories. And like I said, I did fall in love with my characters because I had so much fun inside of each and every story that if it had not been for God and I constantly in dialogue, I would not have seen the people that I imagined. And I started laughing when the idea really presented itself. I just started giggling like a little schoolgirl. I was like, come on there, God. Coffee as people? And I said, but if I was a coffee, I could tell you a beautiful love story. And that's how it happened. And I just kept running with it. And I'm continuing on. Like I said, I have 10 stories I am working on. So it's always a juggling act going on here. So, but I thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to come on your show and to speak about some of the things that I do. The love junkie in me is still looking for the fix. I am that proverbial junkie. So
well, I'm thankful, that you agreed. Hopefully you come back. This is another one of your homes. So if you have something else to share, something else to promote, or if you want to vent, or whatever the case may be, this is a sacred space for you. A sacred space for you has always been, and it always will be. You and your stories, you and your humor, you and your seriousness, you and your violence. Every aspect of you is welcome here. You understand what I'm saying?
I'm a well-rounded individual.
Yes.
I'm well-rounded.
Yes. Yes. So where can people find your work? Where can people get
in touch with me?
Yes.
You can go to my website, Camille St. Charles, Mississippi.com. And from there, you can just travel all over the Camille universe. You can read about some of my characters. You can read about my Roxanne. I have 9 Roxanne stories, the R series. I have my dessert novella Sweets cookbook is there. I have my dessert novella Sweets podcast is there, and fan pages and getting in touch with me. So go there, Camille St. Charles, Mississippi.com. And from there, you can just stop by and check me out and allow me to become one of your favorite authors. The good and the bad, the romance and the raciness. So
we definitely love it. Okay. Definitely love it. So we have to get the Racy Book Club over here so we can get,
You wouldn't have time for that. You wouldn't have time for that.
I definitely would. I definitely would because if we aren't telling stories, we are part of somebody's story, right? So either you the hero or the villain in somebody's
Or the
story.
villain.
So, or both, right?
I've been both several times. Several times. So I look forward to it. I thank you so much for allowing me to showcase, my coffee fairy tales. And when they told me that I had gotten a bestseller for that one, I was over the moon excited because I stepped out on faith. I'm just telling you a romantic story. It's not rocket science. It's just I like to be entertained, so I make sure that my readers are thoroughly entertained also. So I welcome coming back and seeing you again.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for your time. We have a blessed evening. Honest to you and your family. And welcome back. We missed you.
Thank you. I missed you all too. So you take care. And hey, when the song is up for sale, secure your copy because I'm working on it. I've been in negotiations with Spotify people. So I'm getting it out there. It's coming. It's coming. So you'll see it on Facebook later once I get all of my ducks in a row.
Congratulations in advance. I'm securing my copy, okay? I need an autograph or something. I'll be like, I know, ma'am. I know her. Okay? So, definitely.
Okay, well, I welcome that. It won't be a problem. So you all take great care of yourself, Knowledge Born and the Knowledge Born family. I've enjoyed the show, and thanks so much for taking great care of me.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for your time.
Okay, all right.
Peace and blessings to the family.
Peace and blessings back to you and your family also. And we'll talk with you later. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Bye-bye.
The painter, brother's letter. I should cut my ear off like Van Gogh. Stop performing at the Klan shows. Watch myself from the audience. Play piano with lit candles. I mean, I'll still perform, but the thrill is gone. I don't feel as strong, maybe cause the wheel is torn. I clutch in the ball cause I'm sick to my gut. Then I brushed off the dust, stood up like I was touched by healing palms. I picked up my shield and 3 rocks as I'm hearing psalms. Know ye not that ye are gods? And I've been blocked by bouncers, overlooked by the announcers. I'm in the stand with the fans, which told me many of my album was like a counselor. They said songs like Then From Now, got them from then to now. Even deja vu, they said the old man was you. In a reoccurring nightmare, where you kept coming back around. I took a picture with him, then he showed me a picture of his daughter in a cap and gown. He said he put her through college because your words stood up for knowledge. Said, to be honest, you like a prophet. I said, stop it. He said, what made you right before quarantine take us to Nebula in a rocket? I said, it was just my journey to the planet of gods, a divine intervention. Just a mantra, I said, for the monsters in my head. Kept reliving, but we true and living. Like 3 supermen then, he said, who you kidding? That was a beautiful listening. Clan came on and music was hitting. They did 4th chamber while I talked to strangers about his divorce and child support papers. Got to restrain in court for his anger. On the cross cause of haters. Ascos finish up with the black suede while he dawn. They look around, I'm not on. They search backstage and I'm gone. March finish the set, play the next song. Play the next song. Nobody would remember. He hardly was a member. But the gods was his avengers. With the bars, always an inventor. From kindergarten to jobs at the center. From the mini-mart, parking cars for the winter. Kept a penny jar. What's the odds I get injured? Dreams of a football star was hindered. My lovers died, my brother's demise. My first son arrived in September. Virgo. No more pop locking like a turbo. Stopping in Stockton in my circles. Metanetsa, love was eternal. Ancestors, embrace her. Sword in my dreams like Jacob. Wrestle with the devils before I wake up. Or was that an angel in flames who renamed you? Kill a priest to join the Wu-Tang school. Say to them, oh son of man, now children go in the land. Now I'm on send them 5 deadly venoms.
Freak out, yo!
Yeah, ma. Ma, say what up.
Huh?
Say what up.
Say what?
Say what's up. Ma, you look like grandma.
Oh, you looking at me